Welcome to the Hits the Spot Yoga, Moderate Yoga Flow number 2. For the most optimal experience in this flow, it would be helpful to have a few props. A yoga mat, 2 yoga blocks, a D-ring strap or a belt or a scarf, a bolster or very firm pillow, and a blanket. And let's come on into a comfortable sitting position. Long, strong spine, open chest, breath deep down into the belly. Let's take a few centering breaths. Now it's time to congratulate yourself for creating this time for yourself today. Let's start by just bringing the hands out in front, sliding them along the mat, and then up through a prayer position and into what I like to call open vessel. Your hands are out to the side and up above head, and your hands through, once again, prayer pose, and out in front of you on the bolster. And then up through prayer pose and into open vessel. And go from one position to the other using 2 things, your own rhythm and your own tempo. How long do you want to have your hands out in front of you? How long do you want to be in open vessel? That's the rhythm. And how fast do you want to go from one to the other? That's your tempo. Rhythm and tempo are really important in Hits the Spot Yoga, and it's always up to you as to what those are. Take a few breaths. Going from one to the other. And then eventually into prayer. Deep breath down into the belly. Shoulder blades back and down and toward each other. Heart wide open. And let's come on up to standing and do a few standing swinging twists. Just twisting from side to side. That's it. And then swinging your left hand down and getting your right hand in there. And do what looks like a windmill warm-up. Breathing fully into the belly. And your right hand swings down, left hand gets in there. It's really important to warm up before doing any significant stretching. 2 major ways of warming up are movement and strengthening. And back to center, shake out the shoulders a little bit. Bring your hands up above head and bend your knees either gently or moderately or vigorously, coming down into kind of a squat. And your buttocks are pressing back. Chest is wide open, breath deep down into the belly, into Utkatasana, chair pose. Take a few deep breaths. You can actually feel your body literally warming up now. And bring your hands to prayer and your left hand back and forth, swinging back and forth, and maybe it goes up and over, and maybe you bob your body up and down, and maybe you don't. Breathe and feel your body warming up nicely, and Bring that same hand up and over the other way if you're doing an up and over thing. And your right hand back and forth. And maybe up and over, maybe just back and forth. Always feel free to feel each thing out for yourself each time you practice. It's a major component of Hits the Spot yoga. Don't overdo. Great. And hands are on your hips, doing a few hip circles one way for a while. You'll hear me encourage you to breathe deeply throughout this entire flow. And opposite way with the hip circling. Yeah, bend the knees a little bit. Take your hands up above head. And then take your hands out to the side into a T position. Bend the knees even more. Take your buttocks back a little bit more. And just float down and bring your hands down to the mat or toward the mat. And then come on up in thirds. First third, jackknife, hands out to the side, knees bent. Second third, your torso comes up. Last third, your hands go up. Hands out, knees bent, buttocks back, float down, take your hands down to where they want to go. And then come on up in thirds. First third, jackknife, hands out to the side. Second third, your torso comes up. Last third, your hands go up. And once again, find your own rhythm and your own tempo. And by rhythm, I mean, do you want to have your hands down near the mat and bent forward for 3 breaths instead of an exhalation? That's great. Hang out there a little bit longer if you'd like. And of course, the tempo, again, is the general speed at which you go through the whole thing. And remember, rhythm and tempo are always up to you. Simply enjoy it and enjoy the fact that your body's warming up nicely. And back to center. Bring your hands out to a T position and bring your right knee up and swing your left hand over toward it, or your elbow over toward the knee. And do a few of those. It's a great warm-up. You could also reach across and touch your foot. Your right hand touches your left foot, left hand touches your right foot, and so forth. Nice, and back to center. Shake out the shoulders a little bit. And bring your hands out to a T position. And then bring your right hand under and hook it. It doesn't need to hook. But if it does, this is a little easier. This is the top half of Garudasana, eagle pose. Just the top half. Feel that stretch in the upper outer arms. Take your shoulder blades back and down and toward each other. These are subtle enhancements, I like to call them. We don't move very far, we just enhance experience. If your hands don't happen to hook, then just use your right arm to draw your left arm across and over to the right. Breathe fully. Yeah, and bring your hands out to a T position, and your left hand comes under and hooks, or it doesn't. If it doesn't, just, again, use that arm to bring the other arm over to, in this case, into your left. And a couple of breaths there. And back to center, and into prayer pose once again. Yeah, shaking it out a little bit. Let's come on down. Have a seat. And your knees are bent. And you're leaning back on your hands a little bit. And simply bring your knees from side to side for a while. They could go over together. My favorite is that they go over separately. One knee leads as long as possible, then the other one has to follow eventually. Either way is great. Just find your variation in each thing. Breathe and feel. Settle in. And bring your knees over to the right and swing your left arm across your chest. Open in the chest, long in the spine. Deep breath down into the belly, as we poetically say. It's actually a deep diaphragmatic breath. It's not going into the belly itself. It's going into the abdominal cavity, though. You can really feel it there. And then back to center, and your knees over to the left, and your right hand swings. Once again, a deep belly breath. Again, we're poetic when we say that. It's actually diaphragm comes down away from the lungs. Lungs come with it. Lungs have greater capacity in the process, and we're feeling it, though, in the belly. And then back to center, and then side to side using deep belly breaths. Then hoist up onto your right knee and take your left hand toward the sky. Keep your chest open. You might want to roll at the wrist in the left hand. Breathe and feel. And roll the wrist the other way and breathe and feel. And back to center. And then you're hoisting up onto your left knee now, right hand to the sky, perhaps rolling at the wrist, heart open, face relaxed. And back to center. Having a seat, and then lying down on your back, and use your hands to draw your knees back into your chest. And rock a little bit from side to side. Sometimes the simplest things feel so effective, you know? And bring your feet together at the soles of the feet. Let your knees butterfly to the outside. Let your arms come out to the outside. And we're in supine bound angle pose for a while. Deep breath. As you breathe deeply, ask yourself, is there another level of relaxation available to me? Just feel your relationship with gravity. A lot of what yoga poses are is putting ourselves in various positions and various relationships to gravity. And feel gravity as your ally right now as it opens up the upper inner thighs. Three more breaths, fully feeling each one. Great, and slowly bring your knees back toward each other. Always, of course, feel free to come in and out of anything at any time. Remember, this is your practice. I'll have a lot of general suggestions for you, but in the end, it's the way you're feeling it in the way that's best for your body this time you practice. Now roll over to one side and come on into a table position. Now let's do a few cat-cow stretches. Tuck your chin, tuck your tailbone under, round your spine toward the ceiling like a cat, and like a cow, gazing ahead a little bit, taking your tailbone back and up and letting your lower back release toward the floor. And then go between cat and cow in your own time. Tucking chin, tucking tailbone, rounding spine. And just the opposite, gazing ahead at the front edge of the mat. Take your tailbone back and up. Let your lower back relax toward the floor. Once again, go with your own rhythm and your own tempo. And back to center. And then bring your right knee forward and your chin back toward it. And then inhale your right foot back and up perhaps a little bit as you gaze at the front edge of the mat. And then go between those two positions using your own rhythm and tempo once again. Knee forward, chin back toward it. Inhale your right foot back and up, gaze to the front edge of the mat. Let's do a few of these. Again, feel your body warming up nicely. And back to center. And your left knee forward, chin back toward it, left foot back and up, gaze the front edge of the mat. Go between the two in your own time. Nice, and back to center. Yeah, come on back into a child pose. Just bring your buttocks back toward your heels to the degree that that feels okay for you. And make sure that your knees are as wide apart as they need to be for your child pose to be as comfortable as it can be. Three more breaths, feeling each one fully. And once again, forward into another table position. Bring your right arm out in front of you, about shoulder height, and your left leg behind you, about hip height. Open chest, breath deep into the belly. Your right palm could face in or down. You could face directly down or ahead a little bit. And back to all fours. Left arm out in front, about shoulder height probably, and your right leg behind you, maybe about hip height. Just feel the strengthening and the balancing involved in this. Fully breathing. And back to center. Again, feeling free to come out of anything at any time. And then bring your body back into another child pose and breathe fully into child pose for 4 or 5 breaths. Nice. And come on forward and grab your yoga blocks and bring them, as you face the short edge of the mat, bring them to each corner of the short edge of the mat. And then come back from your blocks again. And let's do a few more cat-cow stretches in preparation for a lunge series, a vinyasa, a series of poses. Few cat-cow stretches. Once again, congratulating yourself for creating this time for yourself today. Now stand back to center. Come into a standing on your knees position and bring your left foot forward to the inside of your left block, and then one hand on each block. Tuck the toes of your right foot under and lift your right knee up into a lunge pose. The beauty of the blocks is that they can be on their sides, on their bellies, or on their ends. So 3 different heights to choose from. And you're certainly welcome to not use blocks if you'd rather not. And bring your right knee down and slide your hips forward. This is one of my favorite ones. Just slide the hips forward and feel the opening in your upper inner right thigh and along the pelvic region. My favorite thing is to follow each exhale all the way to the end and let that take me deeper into the pose. Not forcing, just inviting my body to do what it needs to do, and that may be to deepen into the pose a little bit with the exhale. Might be nice to have a blanket underneath your right knee. Nice, and hips back to center. Take your torso to an upright position. And take your hands into a position that works well for you. Here are some choices. Your hands could be in prayer. Your hands could be on your lead thigh. Your hands could be above head. And even that has choices, right? The hands could be together. They could be apart. Or you could have your hands on your hips or interlaced behind you. So always choices in Hit the Spot Yoga. So your hands are in a nice position now. Just slide your pelvis forward and create as much back arch as you'd like to create. Take 3 more breaths. Hands in prayer position. Then bring your right hand down onto your right block and your left palm onto your lower back. Inhale and lengthen your spine. Exhale and open your chest. And then turn your belly to the left and toward the ceiling a little bit. And then your chest and your shoulder. Some people like to bring the left hand up at this point. I don't. I just bring my hand to my lower back. But a lot of people find it nice to open up the pose even more and take the left hand to the sky. And bring your left hand down and onto the block, and then bring your left foot back and your right foot forward into a lunge. Lift the left knee, and now you're in lunge pose. Open chest. And drop the knee. Open up your chest toward the wall in front of you. And slowly slide your pelvis forward. Keep your heart open. And breathe deeply. And again, you may want to follow each exhale all the way to the end. And at the end of the exhale, invite your body to relax more deeply into the pose. Three full breaths. Fully feeling each one. Scan your body. Ask yourself, what's happening now? Take your hips back to a center position. Take your torso to an upright position. Find the hand position that really works well for you. Prayer, lead thigh, hands up, hands on your hips, hands behind you, what feels right to you, and then slide forward with the pelvis. Create as much back arch as you want to create. And bring your hands into a prayer position. And then your left hand down onto your left block. Right palm is on your lower back. Inhale and lengthen your spine a little. Exhale and open your chest a little bit more. And then turn your belly toward the ceiling, then your chest, then your shoulder, and maybe your hand comes up, but maybe it just stays on your lower back or your hip. And your right hand onto the block. Right foot back. And into child pose. Nice. And feel that. It's quite a warming vinyasa, a warming series of poses. Breathing fully in child pose. Feeling what's happening now. And let's come on up to standing for a little while. And face the long edge of your mat. And bring your blocks out in front of the long edge of your mat. And let them be about shoulder width apart. And that's time to get a little water. And grab your D-ring strap and double it up. You can also use a scarf or a belt. If you have a D-ring strap, just double it up. Bring it up above head as you face your blocks, and then begin to bend from side to side for a while. Sometimes it's the simplest movements that feel so effective. And twisting from side to side. Listen to your body. Always feel free to do something entirely different than what I'm suggesting that we do. Again, it's your body, it's your time. It's your yoga flow. And then create your own stretches for a while. Just breathe into the next thing and let your body move through space for a while. Anything that moves your body safely through space is fair game in Hits the Spot yoga. And come into a place in which you'd like to stay for a few breaths. Just feel that. Always a good time to remember in this D-ring strap series that you're welcome to come in and out of anything at any time. Bring your hands down, rest a while, bring them back up, you name it. And how about one more position? What is that for you right now? Breathe into it. Deep belly breaths. Good opportunity for that. Great, and release. And bring your strap to the floor. Shake out the shoulders a little bit. Shake out the knees. Walk in place for a couple of rounds. Yeah. Bring your feet to rest just where you feel like they should rest. Take your toes up and spread them and bring them back down. Now press all four corners of the sole of each foot equally into the ground. So begin with the big toe ball mounds. Press those in. Go back to the inner house of the heels. Roll to the outer house of the heels. And forward to the little toe ball mounds. I like to bend my knees a little bit more, like a half inch now, and I'm going to press my tailbone back just a little bit more. That works for my body. And then take your hands up above head and interlace your last three fingers. And then inhale and lengthen your spine, and exhale and open your chest. Inhale again, and then exhale your body over to the right. Recommit to the four corners of the sole of each foot, pressing equally into the ground now. Breathe fully into the belly. Inhale back to center, and exhale out and over to the left. Recommit to the four corners, pressing equally in. Great, and back to center. Take your hands out to a T position, bend your knees a little bit more, and take your tailbone back a little bit more. And with a wide open chest, fold forward, and eventually place your hands down onto the blocks, or the carpet, or your mat. Bend your knees just a little bit more, and simply let your spine lengthen just the littlest bit toward the floor. Then take your tailbone back and up a little bit more, and you're in the full expression of standing forward bend, Uttanasana. Again, sometimes the simplest ones are so effective. Breathe fully into what's happening now and scan your body. And then bring your feet wide apart on your mat, or at least as wide apart as you care to bring them today. Your hands really, again, could be anywhere. Blocks, carpet, mat, you name it. Take your tailbone back a little bit more. And scoot your hips over to the right about a half inch to an inch, just so that you can accentuate the stretch in the upper inner left thigh. Keep taking your tailbone gently back. And back to center, and over to the left with the hips. Again, keep taking the tailbone back. I like to, in all the standing stuff, commit to the four corners of the sole of each foot, pressing equally into the ground to the degree that that's possible. And take the hips back to center. Take your left hand out in front of you and center it, and have it on a block. And then bring your right hand onto your lower back. And take your tailbone back and the crown of your head forward, lengthening your spine first before you twist. And then take your belly toward the ceiling, then the chest, then the shoulder. And maybe your right hand goes up toward the ceiling. For me, I don't do that anymore. It's just right on my lower back. Again, a lot of people feel like taking it toward the ceiling opens up the feeling of the pose, so please feel free to do that. Whenever I take the arm up in a twisting or standing pose like this, or a triangle pose or something, and it makes it mostly about the arm, I just take the arm back down onto and have the hand on my lower back, because I want it to be mostly about my lower body, and I want it mostly to be about the trunk rotation. So if focusing on the arm takes me away from that, I just bring the arm back down. Nice. And back to center, and your right hand out on the block in front of you, centered. Your left hand's on your lower back. Inhale and lengthen your spine. Exhale and open your chest. And turn your belly and your chest and your shoulder toward the ceiling. And maybe your hand goes up, but maybe it doesn't. And back to center. Heel toe your feet toward each other and come on up to standing. Again, just shake out your shoulders, shake out your knees. And turn to face the short edge of your mat, and then step back about another foot or so. And bring your left foot forward into a lunge. Traditionally, your right foot would angle forward a little bit. And then bend your left knee to your satisfaction. All four corners of the sole of each foot press equally into the ground. And your hands are on your hips. Inhale up out of the waist. And exhale and turn your hips a little bit more toward the short edge of the mat until you feel like you're at the steady edge of your stretch. Don't press further than that. Just get right there. Inhale up out of your waist. Exhale and open your chest. Inhale and take your hands up with your palms apart and facing each other. And exhale and create as much back arch as you want to create. And you have created Virabhadrasana 1, Warrior 1 pose. Just the way your body wants to do it today. Take 3 breaths. And bring your hands to prayer and hop your right foot forward. And turn to face the other edge of the mat, the other short edge. And then your right foot comes out into a lunge. Bend your right knee to your satisfaction. Take your hands onto your hips. Inhale up out of your waist and exhale and turn your hips a little bit more toward the short edge of the mat until you feel comfortable being at the steady edge of your stretch right now. Inhale the hands up above head and exhale and create as much back arch as you want to create. Breathe into Warrior 1. Feel the strengthening. Sometimes it feels like there's balancing involved as well. And hands to prayer, and your left foot forward. Yeah, nice. Shake it out a little bit. And let's come on down onto the mat, lying down. Take a breather. Breathe fully. Let your body catch up with itself. And as we take a couple of minutes, really consider the amazing organism that is your body. For the most part, most of the time, those systems are working in harmony with each other at a level of communication and complexity that's astounding. And that's happening with each breath. One of the things I like about yoga practice is that it allows me to consider what's going on in some of the deeper realms of our existence. And for me, all of that that's going on in my body-mind is informed by a deeper intelligence, energy, and creativity of the universe, and that's happening with each breath. And that's my orientation. Each of us has our own orientation, and how wonderful that that's true. Deep breath. There's a really nice quatrain by Thich Nhat Hanh. Breathing in, I calm body and mind. Breathing out, I smile. Dwelling in this present moment, I know that, oh, I'm sorry, that's my phone, I've got to go get that. Sorry. Some of you asked for a joke in this particular yoga flow, and in case you didn't realize it, that was it. Okay. Thank you for bearing with me. Let's do knee down twist. So here, your knees are bent. You're lying on your back. I like to bring my hips about a half inch to an inch over to the left. Feels like it lines me up in knee down twist when I express it fully. And then your right leg is out in front of you on the mat. And you're reaching across now with your right hand and getting your left knee or thigh and drawing it across your body and over to the right. Left arm extends out to the left to the degree that that feels right to you. I do a couple of things now in this one. I take the left knee back toward my right shoulder a little bit more. It's a pretty subtle enhancement. And then I also take my left hip to the left a little bit more, back to the left. And now breathe fully into what you've created and knowing that's just right for you. And back to center. And your hips over to the right a little bit. Left leg extends. Your left hand comes across and gets your right thigh or your knee. And just find the version of knee down twist that feels right to you right now. And breathe fully into it. Good time to review the three major aspects of a pose in Hits the Spot Yoga. First, go to the steady edge of your stretch. Don't blast past it to look like another person or an idealized photo in a magazine. Those are great sources of inspiration, but in the end, it's your body at the steady edge of your stretch today. That's the first thing. Second, breathe more deeply. And last, choose something to focus on. In this case, it's probably going to be the hip and buttock area. Since sensations are strong there, they make for a great object of concentration, it's called. Focus there for the next 3 breaths. And back to center. Yeah, and then just center your hips, take your knees back into your chest, rock a little bit from side to side. And roll over to one side and then come on up into another table pose on all fours. Let's do a few more cat-cow stretches. And let's do a couple of downward facing dogs. So, hands forward a little bit more, knees back a little bit more. Tuck the toes and lift your buttocks up toward the ceiling for your first downward facing dog. In the first downward facing dog, you might want to have your knees a little bit more bent than you'll have them in the second one. That'll allow you to lengthen your spine to the degree that it will lengthen right now. Press your chest gently back toward the short edge of the mat. Press your tailbone back and up. And breathe fully into your first downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Downward facing dog offers a lot of things, right? Some stretching, some strengthening, and some inverting. And eventually bring your knees back down and come back down into child pose, either with your hands out in front of you or back toward your ankles. Breathe fully and feel the first downward facing dog. And forward, and into your second and last downward facing dog. You might want to start with your knees bent, just the way you had them in the last one. Give your spine 2 or 3 breaths to lengthen as much as it will lengthen. Press your chest gently back toward the short edge of the mat again, and your tailbone back and up again. And this time, you may want to press your heels back and down toward the mat a little bit more. I'm talking another subtle enhancement. They probably won't go very far. It's great, but you will feel the lengthening in the backs of the legs. Breathe into that. Perhaps gratitude for the fact that you have found yoga and yoga has found you. It's a tremendous gift. Great. And coming on out once again, knees down onto the mat, back into yet another child pose and breathing fully into it. Nice. And forward onto your belly. And then just roll over onto your right side. And have your D-ring strap or belt or scarf handy. We won't need it for the first one. So you are lying on your right side with your head resting on your right arm now. Just reach back and grab that foot. Grab that left foot and do 5 things. Inhale, they're all subtle. Inhale and lengthen your spine. Exhale and open your chest. And 3 more things. Take your heel a little bit more toward your buttock. Keep that happening and take your left knee back a little bit more. And then take your left hip point forward a little bit more. And the opposing pressing is going to create a nice stretch, especially in the quadriceps, in your thigh muscles. And release. Now you might want to take a D-ring strap, belt or scarf around your left foot now. And then just take your left foot toward the ceiling. I like to cradle the side of my head with my left hand at this point. That's available to you. And just take that leg up and lengthen each leg to the degree that you want to lengthen each leg right now. And release. And then roll over onto your left side. Head resting on your left arm. Reach back and grab your right foot. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, open your chest. And take your right heel a little bit more toward the outer half of your right buttock. Keep that happening and draw your right knee back a little bit. Keep that happening and take your right hip point forward a little bit more. Feel the stretch. These days I'm reaching down toward my toes even more. And that includes my shin muscles a little bit more into the experience. Getting a nice stretch there too. And release. And perhaps taking a D-ring strap, belt or scarf around your right foot. Take the foot up toward the ceiling and perhaps cradle the side of your head in your left palm. Breathing, feeling what's happening now. And release. Take the strap away and roll over onto your back. Take your knees into your chest and rock gently from side to side. Then if you'd like, grab hold of your feet and take them up toward the ceiling into happy baby pose. I can think of 4 ways to do happy baby pose. 1, the feet are wider apart than the shoulders and my knees are down toward my armpits. That's my favorite. 2, the feet are closer together and they're down toward the buttocks a little bit more. 3, there's a D-ring strap around the feet. And 4, both hands grab the left foot and the right foot rests on the floor, and then halfway through you switch. Those are 4 I can think of. Just get the happy baby pose that's right for you, and maybe it's just bringing your knees into your chest and not grabbing your feet. Something underneath it. My head feels great in this. I have a bolster underneath my head when I do this. But that might feel like it's in the way for your body. You just never know. Just try props out and really retain the props that work for you in each of the poses. Yeah. And come on down. Let's do one more thing before we relax, and that's come into a bridge pose just briefly and have your bolster or your block handy. And you're coming into bridge pose by just taking your feet are pressed into the floor, your knees are bent, you're bringing your hip points toward the ceiling, taking your back off the floor, and just slide something underneath the lowest part of your spine. For me, it's a block. For some others, it's a bolster. Some others, it's a bolster with a folded cotton blanket on top of the bolster. But just rest down onto that now and lift your legs toward the ceiling, and you've created a block-assisted half-shoulder stand. It's one of my favorite inversions. It's a great level of inversion. Most everybody can do it really safely, and it's a true inversion. Your head's below your heart's below your hips are below your legs, so you're getting the benefits of the venous blood return in the body, and also increasing parasympathetic tone in your nervous system, that rest and digest part, that part that we need to, amp up a little bit more to balance out our sympathetic fight, flight, or freeze. So here we are balancing that out nicely and also getting the cardio benefit too of helping out the blood in the veins return to the heart, using gravity as our ally for that now. Breathing fully. Nothing else to do. Nowhere else to be. Nothing to prove to yourself. Just breathing with gratitude, perhaps, for this gift of yoga. Doing your practice in a way that feels right to you each time you practice. Steady edge of your stretch, breathing more deeply, choosing something to focus on in each of the warm-ups and the poses. Yeah, let's come out. Bring your feet to the floor. Press up into bridge pose briefly so that you can slide your block or whatever you have underneath there out. And bring your knees back into the chest and rock from side to side. Really nicely done. Really nicely done. I suggest that you take another 9 minutes and simply relax in corpse pose and shavasana, relaxation pose. Just take 9 minutes on your own and integrate what you've done. Namaste.